Welcome to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder of Meldon Law, and I'm here with my partner, Carrie Meldon, who is going to be our co-host today. And we have a great show today for you today. Dr. Jeremy Melker is here as our guest, and we're going to be getting to that right away. We're broadcasting from the Coaches Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill at Celebration Point. You can watch us on Facebook and YouTube. Just go to Meldon Law and Friends, or listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, or any of the 39 audio platforms out there. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss any episode. We are also taking questions and comments on Facebook Live. Simply let us know in the comment section below. We've got a big week coming up after the Gators demolished the lowly Vanderbilt football team. Now we're going to LSU and see if we can win one on the road. So we're pretty excited about that in Gator country. This Saturday, Meldon Law is going to be giving away 6 tickets to the Gator volleyball match against Texas A&M. We'll have 2 seats and 4 seats available, and we want to support all of our teams, not just football and basketball. So Meldon Law is making a concerted effort to give away tickets to all of the sports. So all you have to do is go to Facebook and just put in Meldon Law, go to our Facebook page, and you can enter the contest to win 4 tickets or 2 tickets to our giveaway for the Gator volleyball match against Texas A&M next Saturday. I want to welcome our guest, Dr. Jeremy Melker. Good evening, good afternoon, Jeremy. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, good. Now, I want to give a little bit of background. I know I've known you since you were running around in shorts when you were about 10 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, and my son Carrie has known you that long as well.
Probably as long as we can both remember.
Yes, probably earlier than that.
Yes, right.
So that qualifies you as a Gainesville native.
It essentially does. That's correct.
Okay, and can you just give us a little bit about your background growing up in Gainesville and
So my family moved here when I was 4 years old for 1 year, famously for my father's interventional cardiology or pediatric cardiology fellowship. And the rest kind of became history. My mother from New York, crying when people called her ma'am, nonetheless stayed, and here we are. Here we are.
And what led you into a medical career?
That's a long story, but it was basically an accident when we were playing basketball. My brother broke his finger. My dad, who is a physician, knew what to do. I didn't, and I made a decision that I never wanted to feel that helpless again, and right there and then changed my major and became pre-med.
Wow.
That's the short version of the story.
Okay.
It's nothing that exciting. A broken pinky.
Well, that's a good story. And can you tell us, what your focus has been on during your career, leading up to your involvement with CAN?
Sure. So by training, I'm an ears, nose, and throat head and neck surgeon. Graduated from the University of Florida residency program in 2004 and have been in private practice ever since, focused on allergy and complex sinus surgery, basically.
Yeah, and Jeremy's for a long time has been my ENT doctor and done a great job as far as keeping me upright. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Not a HIPAA violation since you told everybody. And so that's my day job, I always say. But my passion project is with the UF Health CAN, or Center for Autism and Neurodevelopment, which is what we're going to be touching on today.
Yes. Okay. So let's jump right into
Sure.
it. I'm going to call you Jeremy if that's okay.
It's fine by me. I always say Dr. Melker's my dad.
Okay. So anyhow, tell us, first of all, what does the acronym CAN stand for, and tell us a little bit about how it got started.
Sure. So it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but it's Center for Autism and Neurodevelopment. So it's not just autism, but other neurodevelopmental disorders. It was really a very quick 0 to 60 project that took the alignment of multiple stars, including a fantastic change in leadership under Dave Nelson, the president of UF Health. And we went from the formation of a steering committee and a sheer concept in January of 2019 to a physical ribbon cutting ceremony in February of 2020, so literally 13 months later. And we now occupy, anyone who is a Gainesville native knows, on 39th Avenue where the rehab hospital used to be. So that 40,000 square foot space we took over and co-located services, OT, PT, speech, ABA, CARD, which is a state-funded agency that's involved with autism, all under one roof.
Wow.
So for those listeners out there,
Yes.
give us a little bit of description of what autism is, how it first came to be diagnosed in the United States, and kind of where it is today and in relation to what you do.
Sure, and so the most important thing to understand about autism is it's a spectrum. So there's a famous saying, which is, if you've met one individual with autism, you've met one individual with autism. So it doesn't look the same in everybody. So there are individuals who are low functioning, we would say, who require around-the-clock care, have associated comorbid intellectual disabilities. And then there are exceedingly bright individuals who have savant-like abilities in certain areas, who have exceeded. Temple Grandin is probably the most famous. There's an HBO documentary that I think won some awards. Claire Danes plays her, arguably the most famous adult autistic in the world. So a big spectrum.
And autism is something that was relatively unknown until about a quarter century ago. I remember, that's when I started hearing about autism. But it's a neurological disorder, from what I can gather, and so it starts with obviously your brain.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the 50s and 60s, these individuals would have just been institutionalized. And when you talk about kind of the hallmark findings of autism, just to kind of boil it down for our viewing and listening audience, it's in difficulties with social interaction and communication. So understanding the nuances of language or facial expressions. So innuendo or sarcasm are things that a lot of individuals with autism just don't get, and that makes it very difficult for them to operate in the regular world in the way that the things that you and I take for granted as we're having this very conversation. A second hallmark is restricted or repetitive behaviors or interests. So a lot of individuals with autism have one thing that they're really fanatical about and love. In my son's case, it's cars, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes here.
Well, that's pretty cool that, you've been able to take something that touches you personally, as far as your son's, autism, and turn it into something where you're not only helping your son, but helping the whole world.
Yeah, and what I would say about that is, and any parent of a child with special needs understands this, that your path is quite divergent. So, while peers were doing this, we were doing this in careening, because at the time that Jake, my son, was younger, the services just did not exist in that co-located model that I just described that we have now developed with the CAN. And we had some very, very dark days, and as my wife and I were kind of literally sitting at the bottom of the well, looking up, trying to figure out how we were going to sort out our own family's issues. There and then we made a pact that no other family in Gainesville would have to follow the same path. And so I always say that advocacy is my therapy, and that's how I really became involved with the UF Health CAN. So I'm on the steering committee there and carry many different roles and wear different hats depending on the day. Today, I'm serving, I guess, as the community liaison. I'm also the fundraising chair and serve on a couple of the subcommittees.
So now, out at the center, what are some of the things that go on day to day?
So day to day, we are seeing patients and caring for families. So as I said, the key services, so applied behavioral analysis is kind of one of the hallmarks, certainly, of autism treatment. And there's a private company called Blue Sprig, their Florida Autism Center here in Gainesville, that's also co-located under the roof. So we're big on public-private partnerships. occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, and as I mentioned before, CARD, which is a whole different acronym, but a state-funded agency that all live under that one roof for families to make one trip.
So, do people reside out there, or they just come out for treatment on a regular basis?
So a residential facility is absolutely, and I shouldn't say facility, but residential options are an aspirational goal. And I am on the Transition to Adulthood Subcommittee, and that's something that is desperately needed. There's a paucity of it nationwide. And frankly, that's where our Autism Center is ultimately going to shine. I think you would agree that Gainesville is the village of the right size. This is a place where we don't leave people behind, that we're personally accountable to one another, that business owners know one another and they know the community that they're living in. So there's a lot of accountability. And so everyone who's come through Gainesville as a part of this autism initiative really gets that the transition to adulthood piece is where we're really going to be special.
What about working with the parents and the families? What kind of work do you do at the center?
So absolutely critical. When you get that diagnosis, it's a shell shock in many ways. We have what are called patient navigators, which are kind of concierge level coordinators of care. So I remember after Jake's diagnosis sitting there just completely overwhelmed, even as a physician, even with resources and friends who kind of were tangentially related to autism. We didn't have as much knowledge then as we do now. Now you get your diagnosis at CARD and literally get walked down the hall to meet your patient navigator who coordinates all of your care for you.
So you help educate the parents that, this is going to be, it may be a tough road, but you're going to have some people on your side.
That's absolutely right. And I think that the community around that and the support around that is very different than it was when we were there. So I like to think that we're starting to climb out of that well and to accomplish those goals that we've set out to.
How does the diagnosis occur? Is it usually something that the parents bring up? Is it something that a teacher brings up?
So it can be a variety of things. I, for one, was in denial as the physician in the family. My wife is a speech therapist, so she thought, she had some early inklings, and I was, reading and telling her why that wasn't the case. As we all know, that women are much smarter than men, regardless of what we're talking about, whether it's autism or anything
Very
else.
true, yeah.
So, a pediatrician may pick up on something, and the tools that we have to diagnose much earlier. So you're seeing kids that are now diagnosed at 2 years old, whereas Jake was diagnosed post 5 years of age. So there's been an evolution in early intervention and treatment, early diagnosis, I should say, intervention and treatment are really changing the face of how some of these kids are interacting with the world.
Well, we're going to take a break right now, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the big event that's coming up. I want all of our listeners to stay tuned because we'll be back in 60 seconds.
And it is.
When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your
No,
fault.
it's not,
I am calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
Jeffrey! This crazy lady here, this crazy lady, he might...
New client?
Yes, but this one might be a little tricky.
Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder of Meldon Law. I'm here with my law partner and son, Kerry Meldon, and our special guest, Dr. Jeremy Melker. Welcome to the second half of the show, Jeremy.
I'm happy to be included as a friend.
Yes, you are. And what I want to talk about, I'm so excited about this event coming up because, as you know, I'm a car buff myself. And tell us a little bit about this event coming up and what's going to be happening and how everybody can get involved.
Fair enough. So, as I said, supercars are what my guy is all about and has been And that was kind of our inkling. Carrie said, how do you know? Well, we had a history of fast cars coffee table book with 1,000 cars in it. And at 3 years of age, Jake had them all memorized and could tell you what page they were on. So then I kind of knew something was up.
Wow.
Be that as it may, for the last decade, I've always wanted to
Wow.
do a supercar event. Not just for Jake, but because it's something that he was particularly interested in, and also because it has the potential to, support the center.
Well, now define a supercar for our listeners.
Well, I mean, it can be anything. It's whatever you love driving. So that's the politically correct answer. But at the same token, I'll say that at the event that we're going to have, there will be several individual cars that are in the multi-millions of dollars.
So your Bugattis and your
We'll have
upper end Ferraris
and your absolute favorite, the Pagani Huayra, will be there as
Pagani
well.
Huayra.
Yes. Jeffrey told me a story about that for another time, his seeing one in France. But yeah, so we have our inaugural Miami, it will be in Miami, Florida on November 18th, supercar show and auction. And there has just been an outpouring of support. There's an incredible kind of supercar community in Miami because we don't have the restrictions that, say, California does. So people can drive their supercars in Florida, and that has kind of led to this car culture that's pretty incredible down there.
And Miami's hosting an F1 race next year. It's a huge deal.
It's a big deal, yes. It is a big deal. I won't digress on that. But for this particular event, what we're doing is telling the story of autism and the center itself through supercars. So we have different vignettes, as I call them, and to give our listeners an idea of what we're talking about, and this is really important actually, what we're using is a lot of symbolism. So the truth is, 1 in 136 American families has a brand new Ford F-150 in their driveway every year. It's a staggering number. 1 in 54 children are diagnosed with autism annually, which means that autism is literally 2.5 times more common than the number of Ford F-150s that you see on the road.
That's an amazing statistic.
Yeah.
So when you think about how commonly you see a Ford F-150 on the road, it kind of brings it immediately into focus. Now, it's a supercar event, so we don't have a Ford F-150. We have one of 50 Hennessy V8 Velociraptor six-wheel F-150s that were ever produced on display.
A 6-wheel truck.
A six-wheel. It's a
Interesting.
big one. It's a big one. So take an F-150 and don't make it a dually, but keep it going further back and make it a
Interesting.
six-wheel. And 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, sort of thing.
Wow.
I don't want to divulge too much, but other vignettes that speak about statistics of autism and our core pillars at the center of clinical care and research and education and advocacy and outreach and transition to adulthood. Those are really our 5 pillars upon which our center is built and based. And so we have stories about all of those things.
Well, how do we go about, sponsoring the event? I know Meldon Law.
I was going to say, you already have. You had a conversation with me.
But for
we're
our
very grateful for
viewers,
that.
our listeners, because there's a lot of people out there that are touched by the work that CAN is doing and want to help make progress as far as helping people with autism. What are some of the things that people can do to get involved?
I think the most expeditious way, and it kind of serves a dual purpose because you can learn more about the UF Health CAN, is just Google UF Health CAN and go to the website. There you can take a virtual tour that was donated by a local real estate company. You can literally walk the halls of the center, which is pretty neat with Matterport technology. And the Evite for the event is posted there, and that's the most expeditious way, I would say, from this venue to purchase tickets if you can't make it to the event, but you're excited about what we're talking about today and excited about the event itself. There's a link to donate and so on and so forth.
It sounds like it's going to be great. I know Carrie and I are looking forward to going down there. It's November 18th. The supercar it says Supercar Rooms, Miami.
Right.
Where is it going to be located?
So the Supercar Rooms Miami is actually a physical venue that's in Wynwood. So very hip,
beautiful.
very nice. And I had the opportunity to be at an event there about 2 years ago. And as soon as I walked in, I said to myself, it was like the angels saying, I said, I finally have, my location for my supercar show. And it's kind of been story since then. We had planned to do it last year. Obviously, COVID put the squash on that. So, but at the end of the day, I think it's a much better and more exciting event. It has really gotten over the top.
How many supercars are going to be there approximately?
We'll have a dozen to 14 of the most rare cars in the world. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like a real, it's almost like
It's
a
the real
museum
deal.
display. Yeah.
It will be. And I'll give away maybe one more. We have the last Countach that was ever produced. So for guys like Carrie and I's age,
Yeah.
that was the poster that was on our wall.
Yes. Was that the Magnum PI? No, he had a Ferrari.
Yeah, that's
yes.
right.
Yeah, the Lamborghini
Please,
Countach.
Carrie,
Yeah.
watch your. You might have to edit that out. For
Carrie,
certain
now, you
viewers.
don't remember your Uncle Jeff had a Lamborghini back in the 1970s.
Well, the Countach was in early 80s, but it may have been around the 70s.
So anyhow, so here's the deal. November 18th,
Correct.
Supercar Rooms Miami.
Yep.
You can go to UF Can, right?
UF Health
To
Can, yeah.
UF Health Can,
Yep.
okay. Tickets are available online, $100 each. Food is being catered by an award-winning sushi.
You got it. So
We got drinks by Oren Swift Wines. For those of you that don't know Oren Swift created this wine called Prisoner, and it wound up being one of the most popular, bold red wines in the world, and sold it for about $10 million. And then he had a non-compete agreement in which he couldn't make red wines for 8 years. And of course, after 8 years, he started making red wines again. And his first wine was called 8 Years in the Desert.
I've heard of it from the director of the event, who's putting the event.
Oren
together,
Swift.
yeah.
So anyhow, Oren Swift is a legendary, winemaker, I call him. And we have a Lamborghini hard seltzer, Zier vodka, craft cocktails by a mixology mixer. And this is going to be really cool. You can go to UF Health Can and get all kinds of information. But to all of our listeners that are car enthusiasts or people that are willing to make the drive down to Miami, this is a great opportunity to really help the autism program at the University of Florida. And I want to really get into what we can do to help. So I want to ask you, Dr. Melker,
Yes.
how do we go about getting a loved one tested for autism if we think that there may be some problem?
So again, contact the center. So there are criteria for testing, or there are tests that are developed specifically for autism. One is called the ADOS, which, again, complicated acronyms I won't get into. They're easy to trip on the tongue and that sort of thing. But it is usually a multidisciplinary evaluation that leads to a formal diagnosis of autism. And then that kind of opens the doorway to treatment.
And how have you seen the treatment of autism, advance in terms of the results, of course, personally, and as you've seen, with other children in the center?
Yeah, so it's exponential. It really is, Carrie. I mean, so Jake is now 19, and so over that lifetime and over my lifetime, really just I think the early diagnosis, that's been key. So the earlier you can diagnose, the earlier you can intervene, and so the number of just different. Augmented, VR, virtual reality. There's just all sorts of new technologies is what I was getting at there. There's so many to list that can help. So there's a company that makes glasses that rewards an individual for making eye contact. Kids that don't make good eye contact, kind of a hallmark of autism, and they get rewarded every time, through a set of Google glasses. They're paying a game that they make eye contact.
That's pretty cool.
So
yeah.
And then you have individuals who are working toward transitioning to adulthood and moving into the workforce. There are virtual reality programs for mock interviews and that sort of thing. So I was trying to think of best examples, but we support from the early diagnosis and treatment to the successful transition to adulthood. So there's a lot that goes on.
So we were talking for a while before the show, and you were explaining to me that it's not so much a cure for autism,
That's right.
but that strategies to help people with autism live a more normal life.
And that's a critical distinction. You know, there's certainly a subset of research out there that might be geared towards quote unquote curing autism or discovering what the genetic, foundation of it is. What gets done with that information is not. It's above my pay grade, but I always say it would be great if the world would meet individuals with autism and their families halfway. We know that that's not where we're at, not even close, and so we're all about giving families and those with autism themselves strategies in which to be successful in the world.
What's Jake's favorite supercar? I haven't asked you that
It
yet.
is a Maserati MC12. There is no hesitation. There's one in Miami with a private collector down there, one of 12 of the race versions.
Oh, wow.
Every time we've been in Miami, the car has not been there, but this trip we're
So
hoping that
why
Jake's gonna
why
see.
That's
is
awesome.
that Jake's favorite car?
You would have to ask him. You can have him on in your next
I
podcast.
will.
That'd be
I
cool.
will. I mean, I'm really excited because
You don't have enough time to hear about supercar or the amount of information. that he does.
no. I mean, Jake, obviously knows a lot more than I do. But I've been to some great car shows. We have one in Amelia Island.
Yeah.
I've been out to Pebble Beach for the Concourse.
So I should
Elegance.
specify that Jake likes supercars. When you get into vintage and that sort of thing, that's too passe for him. So-
I know.
Yes.
But they do. They do have some of the supercars,
absolutely.
right? That
No question about
they
it.
show off. But this is going to be supercars only
That's
in
right.
Miami.
For this
Didn't you meet
year.
Jay Leno at one of those events?
Yes, I actually have a video with me and
Did
Jay
you
Leno.
drink orange with wine? Because you knew a lot about orange with wine.
He does,
I
he
almost
does.
felt like I had to give a plug for don't drink and drive after
Yeah.
that.
Well,
So, what's the best site or place to learn more about autism?
So, I keep coming back to the UF Health Can. Certainly, Google is a double-edged sword. I mean, as a physician, I know that. My patients often come in and tell me
Oh, gosh.
exactly what's going on before I have the opportunity to ask a single question. So, like anything, you have to be careful. There are several centers of excellence across the United States. We have kind of a vacuum in the Southeast. The closest would be in Atlanta and in Nashville at Vanderbilt, in Atlanta at Emory. Just be careful about your sources. But UF Health Can has a lot. We're enriching the website on a daily basis. We have a fantastic person who does that. And so if you can't find it there, certainly by calling the number and getting connected, we can help.
Is there information on that website about the event?
There is, yes. So that, I think, is, as I said before, the most expeditious way to find out more about the event that you guys.
And before-
put
Go
wait
ahead.
a second. UF Health Can, CAN.
Yes, we like
That's
the
website.
acronym because we can do it together. So the event is the inaugural Together We Can.
I love it.
Before we get off here, I have to
Yes.
plug your brother's podcast,
Fair enough.
The Wolf of All Streets, which apparently is the #1 Bitcoin podcast, one of the top ones in the nation,
That's
right?
right. Yeah, cryptocurrency. That's right. And
Yeah,
he
Scott
was,
Melker is a good friend of ours. I went to Hebrew school with Scott. I think Jeremy was a little older than me, but
Yeah.
the Wolf
Carrie
of All
was
Street.
kind.
Yes.
That's right.
Anyhow, it's time to take a 3-minute break on Meldon Law and Friends, and we'll be back in 180 seconds.
Thanks so much for having me.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
And I was in an accident. Someone ran a red light and hit me, and I was hurt. You don't know where to turn. Luckily, I called Jeffrey. These big insurance companies, they don't want you to win. They truly don't. But Jeffrey and his firm and the people that work here, they just really fight for you. You call the law offices of Jeffrey Meldon, because you're gonna need help, and they will help you.
When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. The Gator Nation will be the first to tell you that in all kinds of weather, we all stick together, which is why Meldon Law is honored to be the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We hope you never find yourself the victim of a serious accident, but if you do, our team is here for you. Gators won't back down from a fight, and neither do we. The Meldon Law Firm from the beginning has been built on giving back to the community. I enjoy coming to work as much today as I did in 1971 when I opened my practice. I don't look at this as a job, I look at it as serving other people. While we're alive, what better feeling can you achieve than knowing that you've helped other people and thereby you enrich your own life?
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your
No,
fault.
it's not, no,
I am
it's not.
calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
This crazy lady here, this crazy lady, he might...
New client?
Yes, but this one might be a little tricky.
Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder of Meldon Law. I'm here with my law partner and son, Kerry Meldon, and we have a special guest for the second half of our show, Brett Douglas from KISS 105.3, where he's the program director and most importantly, the morning DJ, which is one of the most important jobs in the whole world.
Yeah.
How you doing today?
You know, I had tend to agree, maybe not just because I do it, but I tell you what, it's a lot of fun. I've been so excited Jeffrey invited me to come on last week, and I actually had plans, so I've been just waiting for this day to come in. So needless to say, the last week, it was a little longer than most, but I appreciate you having me here. I'm excited, and I love doing what I do, man.
So I want to hear how you got into being a DJ.
You know, it's a funny story. It's not really funny. It's just interesting. Normally people go to school for it, or they'll take different paths. Me, I call it like a street to the studio type story. I was in the Army before I moved here to Florida. And while I was in the Army, for 1 year, I was in a singing group. Tried out for this little group, and we sang. We traveled, sang in the Pentagon, got flown to Puerto Rico, we sang there. And so I got really comfortable on the mic. I was a presenter of the singing group that we had. And so a few months after moving here to Florida, because the Army moved me anywhere we wanted to come, we had family here, we always loved Florida, especially Gainesville, a friend told me that KISS 105 was hiring someone to drive our boombox. You know, if you've seen it, it's that big, huge boombox we have all over town.
It's a classic vehicle.
I think it is a Gainesville staple, right?
What's it called? There's a name for it.
Well, we just call it the boombox. I've nicknamed it Boomer, but that didn't really take. So,
Gotcha.
but yeah. So I got the job starting to drive that. I always wanted to work in radio, and I thought, man, this is my foot in the door. And so I did it for a few months. I heard that they were looking for part-time jocks to do overnights, and so because I was fortunate enough to work for my aunt at the time, she let me leave work every day to go to KISS 105 in one of our other studios, and I would practice every day. And the owner, Doug Gillen, he kind of noticed, and they gave me like an overnight slot. And then a few months into that, the night personality had left, so they put me into fill-in, and they liked it. It stuck. Ratings went up pretty well, and so I did the night show for 6 years. And a little stint in the morning show. And then my final time about 11 years ago, came back to the morning show. and they just stuck. They kept me there. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna pretend and not make any noise, and just hopefully they'll let me stay here. And here we are, you know.
That's amazing.
Well, I listen to it, and I know on Mondays we have Meldon Mondays.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah, mind how the tables have turned. Here I am on your show for a change, right?
Except this is a video podcast. I know you do more video than you used to, but
Correct.
My question is this: how often do you go to a party or you go to a restaurant and someone is like, I recognize you, but I don't know where I recognize you from?
Yeah, so how often do I get recognized? You know, it's funny because I have an identical twin brother. And so growing up, that was kind of common. It's like, oh, you must know my brother Adam. But I actually get more recognized by voice.
Right.
And people will say, like, man, you sound familiar. Today, 17 years later, I still get a kick out of it. I can't believe it. I'm like, no way.
I
Like,
know you somehow. How do I know
I'm
you?
like, you listen to the radio? They're like, yeah, it's Kiss 105. I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm one of those guys.
Yes.
So it's really cool.
I mean, that's incredible. I mean, I
Yeah.
think what you've done, you're probably one of the most recognizable individuals in Gainesville, because Kiss 105 is, even when I was growing up in the 1980s, it was like it was a big station.
Yeah, well, you know, the thing about Kiss 105 is that they've been such a Gainesville staple for so long. And so, you know, people come here to go to school, they go to college, they find Kiss 105 on the dial, and then they graduate, they fall in love with Gainesville like so many people do. So they stick around, and they may go to other places for music or whatever, and then they have kids. And then their kids find Kiss 105, and then they want to listen. And I've had so many parents say that they would go away from Kiss 105 at the time, and then their kids would say, like, turn to Kiss 105 on the way to school.
Right.
And, like, even, like, more dads than, I wouldn't say more dads than moms, but more dads than I would ever think would be like, you know, so after I drop my kids off, I keep listening because I kind of enjoy the show and the music, you know, so it's really cool.
So, Brett, tell us what the format is. You're the program director and the DJ, so tell us what the format is.
Yeah, so we're contemporary hit music, contemporary hit radio. Top 40 is what it's called. So we play the hits. A lot of people say, "Man, you guys play 40 songs. No wonder I hear the same song all the time." That's not necessarily the way it is. It is contemporary hit music, so it is newer music, and so it's like anything from the newest releases that you hear from the biggest stars to things that will do a few years old. And so we keep it moving. We try to keep it up tempo, of course. There's a lot of artists playing some slower songs right now, but for the most part, we keep it music. We're moving. We're very music intensive. So you'll hear some shows where there's a lot of talk, you know, and in fact, like when we talk, that's the most talk I'll do in a week, you know, and so we like that. Our listeners like the format, and then they also like getting to know, like I know a lot of people are getting to know you guys. I know, Carrie, you fill in for Jeffrey, you know, on the
Occasionally,
phone, so, yeah.
yes.
And it's always so much fun when you guys are in. But we also have another station, which is 98.9 Jams, which is classic hip hop and R&B. And so we do.
That's a great station. I love it.
I was giddy when I found out we were getting that.
That's
that
awesome.
station,
Well,
yeah.
let me ask you
Congratulations.
this. How do you prepare for what songs you're going to play, and do you study? Are there different sites or services that help keep you up to date?
Yeah, now fortunately I luck out in this department because I really don't do a whole lot of the scheduling of the music. We actually have a really great person that does that, and he handles all of that, and then we'll go in, we just try to make sure that the flow is good. So we want to make sure that if I do see a slow song, that I don't keep the song, or a slow song, like too many slow songs in a row,
Right.
we break it up. We don't want too many male artists in a row, or too many female artists, or too many rock sounding songs, or too many, you know, urban sounding songs. We like to keep the flow going well, and sometimes, you know, it's a lot of computer generated, and so we have to kind of babysit it. So I'll just look over the show and see how it's going. Or if I'm, you know, doing something at, let's say I'm at an event and I'm hyping everybody up, and I see that when I'm done with my talking break that it's gonna be a slow song, I'm like, maybe I'll throw in some Won't Back Down or something like that, you know, just to
Right.
keep the energy going. And so we really like to have the energy fit the mood of what's going on.
So you're able to actually reprogram it if you aren't completely satisfied with the way it's been pre-programmed?
You didn't hear it here, but you did. But yeah, yeah, we do. And again, just out of respect for our listeners and making sure that they're getting the most entertainment.
Well, you
out of it.
take requests sometimes.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. People request either they'll friends will text me or a Facebook request from a listener. We can get a lot of requests through our Facebook fan page as well. And so if I have time, which does happen often, is I'll say like, hey, this person wants this song, and it looks like I'm running commercial break a few minutes early. Yeah, man, I'll get that song in a heartbeat.
So I know what all the listeners out there really want to know, okay? How do you win? Is there any tricks to winning the prize, okay? And let's talk a little bit about what you guys do, your giveaways.
Every morning you have a contest.
Yeah,
right?
so right now, this is really cool, running a 25,000 birthday contest where someone
what,
has
$25,000?
But it's like it's a really big chance because at 8:30, 12:30, and 4:30 every day, we will be handed an envelope. This is completely professional company set this
crazy.
up.
Yeah.
It cannot be rigged.
Just
We've got
like the Academy Awards and
Go-
stuff.
Yeah, there we go. And so they hand us an envelope, and it's completely sealed. And then we open that envelope, and inside that is another envelope. But on the first envelope is the month that we're looking for. So we announce, hey, today, like this morning, it was a July birthday. Hey, if you're born in July, give me a call. You have to meet qualifications. So once they call in, we make sure they check the boxes, and then we open the envelope, pull out the second sealed envelope. We show the camera. We have 2 cameras running at this so that you can see that it's sealed, and we pull it out. If their birthday matches the day, month, and year, they win $25,000. And it's worth a chance. I've hit a hole in one.
1 out of 365, right?
Exactly right. And
Unless it's a leap year.
That would be a shame.
That would be a shame.
Yeah. So I had someone last week or 2 weeks ago. They were 4 or 6 days off, same month and same year. But they came that close. Yeah. So it was really exciting.
Oh, wow. Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Now that, and you can actually buy insurance for things like that.
That's exactly what it is. It's it's an insured contest. So that's we can make sure that it's covered. And at the station, we are all rooting every time. We're like, let's get a winner. Please, can we have a winner? We'd love to see this because we have the bell ready to go. We have the crowd ready to cheer. And I mean, just streamers ready to throw down because we want someone to win so bad.
So do you do it 3 times a day or once a day?
We do it 8:30, 12:30, and 4:30, Monday through Friday. So we're running it through next Friday as of right now, unless we decide to extend it again.
How do people enter into the contest?
So they just listen at 8:30, 12:30, and 4:30. You want to listen, and if you were born in that month, we announce the month right then at that time because we don't get the envelope until then.
Okay.
So the envelope is locked up in a safe,
Right.
and so our prize guy brings it to us, and he's filming, and he hands it to us. And so I'll crack the mic. I'll say like, "All right, it's time to play the $25,000 birthday match game. All right, I'm being handed the envelope right now." And then that's when I announce the month. So I don't even know which month we're looking for until the mic is cracked and we're live. And that is 100%
Now, has
live.
anybody won yet?
No one has won, and this is our second time round doing it. We did it back in the spring, and now we're back here doing it in the fall. I think we're gonna do it in the spring again too.
Well, we need to have a big party when we get our first winner.
And that winner is going to pay for that party because that would be amazing. Yeah, we could do it right here at Spurrier's.
Well,
love it.
Yeah, we are broadcasting from the podcast room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. It's cool, and having Brett Douglas in the house is a big deal. And I love our morning chit chats when we talk about what happened over the weekend with the Gators.
It's always good, man. I will talk Gators till the cows come home. I absolutely love it. And I mean, you guys, I thought that I was the biggest fan until I met y'all, man. You've been crazy cool. And every time Jeff calls, he's all, "Hey, Brett, I got more tickets to the game. Can we talk about that?" I'm all, let's talk about that. So you guys are always doing so many great things for Gator Nation, and we love it.
Well, one
you,
of
Brett.
one of our goals is to support all of the sports.
Oh, yeah.
Not just the major sports of football and basketball.
Correct.
And you've really helped popularize. I mean, gymnastics, volleyball, baseball, softball, all of that.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I've learned since moving here. I grew up in a college town, and so I understood the importance of a college town. And I learned early on here is no matter what, you root for the Gators in any sport. And you can. I always say the Gators are going to win 203-0. Are they going to do it? No, but I'm always going to root for the Gators no matter what. I'm never going to talk bad about them because what does that do? Nothing. And it's all the sports. You're right. We our listener base is very heavy female. And so they're huge into the gymnastics, into the volleyball, into the soccer, into the lacrosse. And so the fact that you cover all those sports, our listeners just like loving it so much because, they really didn't seem like there was that opportunity before, until you came along with all these tickets. And it's a perfect marriage for our listener base.
Well, we're going to be back
Yes.
in 60 seconds with Meldon Law and Friends and our special guest, Brett Douglas from KISS 105.
The Gator Nation will be the first to tell you that in all kinds of weather, we all stick together, which is why Meldon Law is honored to be the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We hope you never find yourself the victim of a serious accident, but if you do, our team is here for you. Gators won't back down from a fight, and neither do we. When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em.
Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon here with my law partner and son, Kerry Meldon, and our special guest, Brett Douglas from KISS 105, the morning DJ, famous position in the world, the morning DJ. We all listen to our DJ on the way to work, and a lot of people in the Gainesville area listen to KISS 105. But Brett, you have another station as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we have it. It is 98.9 Jams. It's classic hip hop and R&B. Plays anything from late 80s to mid 2000s, actually mid 2000s. Every now and again, we'll throw in a newer song, but it's hip hop, R&B. You got Tupac, you got Snoop Dogg, you got East Coast, West Coast, R&B and hip hop. And I tell you, I love that music. I love KISS 105 music too. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of this music came out when I was in high school, and so it just takes me back in the day when I go sit in that studio.
Well, I love the R&B sound, and it's great when I work out. That's what I usually put on,
Nice.
The speaker, and it motivates me to,
Very good. I
work
tell
a
you
little
what,
harder.
if you have a request of a song that you need to get you going in the morning, man, let me know. I'll pop on a song for you, Jeff.
I love it. I love it. Well, and you walk every day. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I started doing a 5K every day a little over 3 years ago, and I don't run. Clearly, I don't run. I walk 3.1 miles. Today was 1,335 days in a row.
That's, what, 3 years?
Yeah,
4 years?
Yeah,
almost.
3 years. So I hit 3 years back on September 3rd. September 3rd is when I started. Second was when I started. It's third or second. And I just started to do something. I've lost weight doing it. I've gained weight back, and so it fluctuates. So a lot of that I understand is my relationship with food. But the biggest part is my heart. My doctor's really happy with my heart health.
That's amazing.
Because of it. Yeah. I was on blood pressure medicine. I still am, but it looks like I can be getting off that soon.
Wow.
Mentally, it's just great. I have the best job in the world. I love what I do, but I can also find myself with a lot of anxiety for no reason. People ask like, why are you so excited? I'm like, I don't know, but the walking has really helped me, and I just clear my head. It gives me 1 hour to myself. It's no excuse. I do it. And after doing it as many times I do, it's as automatic as I wake up and as automatic as I breathe. So it's my me time.
Nice. Brett, I want to ask you real briefly. You said you were from a college town. You never told the listeners what college town you're from.
Yes, I'm actually from Provo, Utah, which
Okay.
is where Brigham Young University is.
All right.
And so my dad actually played center at Brigham Young University. He coached actually also with Lavelle Edwards, who
Wow.
is
Legend.
legend. Exactly. He is Provo's Steve Spurrier. You know what I mean?
He was like Ty Detmer's coach. back
Yeah,
in-
he was. He was. In fact, I had the opportunity of patting Ty Detmer on the chest very hard after a win because we stormed the field. We beat Washington State, and it was
That's
It was a
awesome.
lot of fun. So yeah.
So you grew up a BYU guy.
I grew up a BYU guy. You know, I said my dad, he played for them. Jim McMahon was the quarterback, and that's why I'm a Chicago
forgot
Bears
about that.
fan.
Gotcha.
Because of Jim McMahon was a Chicago Bears quarterback, and so that was right in my years of really starting to come out and watch football and become such a huge fan. And so, yeah, Bears fan. And then, I'm Gators first, though, for sure now.
Yeah. Well, so you came from a big family, right?
Yep.
How many brothers and sisters?
So I have 2 brothers and 4 sisters, so 7 kids total. So we had a family of 9.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a lot of football with
Did you
my
get
brothers.
to go to the games?
We went to a great amount of games growing up. Whether our dad would take us or we just lived a couple miles. So back then you could just hop on your bike and actually ride up to the stadium, and it was great. We would sometimes lock our bikes, sometimes not, and just hope they'd be back when we came back. And just a chance to get in to see these guys take the field and play. It was magical, So we loved
They've
it.
had a great program for a long time.
Yeah, they really have, and it's funny. Their current coach, Kalani Satake, was a year older than me at my high school. And so I've known him since high school, and their defensive coordinator is my best friend from back home's little brother. So it's very close to the BYU family as well. So yeah.
Well, Utah's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it
I
is.
love. I mean, I've not been to Provo, but I've been to Salt Lake, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
incredible.
It is. I love visiting. I still have some family there, so I try to go back at least once a year in the summer. So I'm not a huge fan of snow anymore. I grew up in. I've had my fair share of snowballs and snowmen, so I'm good with the heat, the warmth.
I wanted to ask you, what are some of the trends that you see coming up in live radio versus digital and Spotify and other formats? People have a lot more choices than they did 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah, they really do. And I mean, you can get whatever you want at your hand. And so us in radio, we try to move with that. Everything we do from our Facebook lives, we try to stay in the now as much as we can with our social media and everything like that, because if we didn't, we're just left back, hung out to dry. And the one advantage we have here at KISS 105 and in Gainesville, and you probably know this being here for as long as you have, is Gainesville has such a loyal base of fans, of clients, people that just love
point.
and adore us. And so we have that advantage that they will tend to come to us first. It's our job to keep them.
Well, that's a testament to you, because right now your job is more competitive than it's ever been.
Absolutely.
It used to be the music sold itself. You could have some guy that was a DJ that was probably just playing the records, and people would listen despite the DJ. But now you have to be the entertainment more so than the music.
Yeah, correct. And and a lot of that is through preparation. Half of my life is prepping for my show. And so you want to use, if you're not going to tell the story now, you want to at least have a nice tease, something that's going to keep listeners coming on, because we're playing music that anyone can get anywhere.
Right.
The difference is they're not going to get the story I'm about to tell coming from me. And so it is that holding on. And we have, again, just the best listeners that they really like us, and they stick around for us, and they go to the places that we're at, and they want to see the things that we're seeing, and so with moving again, like with the Facebook Lives and being on, this podcast, it gives people the ability to see through our eyes, and then they can go see. So through visual, and now we're giving them through audio, now we're giving the video, the visual of that, process.
How was that transition for you, going from audio to video? And I'll let Jeffrey speak. I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Not as difficult. Not that I thought it was going to be difficult. I just thought that it was going to be, the first time being in front of a camera was pretty intimidating, because it's like I'm in a studio all day with no one looking at me.
Yeah, you wouldn't be in your underwear.
It could be right in your boundaries, But then all of a sudden here it is, and there's all these people watching, and so it's like you really have to get that mentally out, because it is a camera, and I'm just talking to you guys, But it's I also have a YouTube channel, which has really helped me get comfortable in front of a camera. But I just have to remember, man, the best thing to be is myself, and then I'm not gonna have to pretend and put on a show for anybody,
Well, I wanted to remind our listeners and viewers, we're taking questions and comments on Facebook Live. Simply let us know in the comment section on the bottom, and we'd love to have you ask Brett Douglas some questions. He's had an incredible career. Now, one of the things that makes KISS 105 unique, I think, at least for me, is you personalize it to the Gainesville community. Tell us a little bit about how you thoughtfully go about doing that.
You know, I've worked with some great coaches in the past, and they really did a good job of honing that and making it realize that we are very Alachua County based. It's where our signal reaches, and we want everyone in Gainesville to know like that we are as local as you can get. So if I have a listener that is winning something and they say, "Oh, I'm on my way to work. Where's work? Oh, Publix. Which Publix?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to Steeplechase, or I'm going to Newberry, or I'm going to Hunter's Crossing." And so we let our listeners know it's the theater of mind. They're also now there on 43rd Street, and they're hanging out with the winner and celebrating for them and with them. And I've really found the importance of just localizing and keeping everything Gainesville or Alachua County rated, because it's just so important to me because of how much I've fallen in love with this community and being in Gainesville. And so I really just want our listeners to feel at home when they're listening to us,
Well, I know that you also have a active Facebook following. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we do both. Our Facebook following is great, and it's growing. We have an amazing social media girl, Sarah, who takes care of all of it. I mean, just right before here, I said, "Hey, do you want to let our listeners know?" Put a post on Facebook that I'm going to be on the Meldon podcast. And she's
great,
all,
yeah.
"Yeah, what do you want?" I said 4:30. I'll be on. She's all done, and I was like, "There it is, right there." So she's been very sound at the growth of our fan base on our social medias, because for me, I'm pretty much just a Facebook guy. I'm trying to do a little more with Instagram. She's got it
doing
all.
it.
Oh yeah, she fresh out of college. She went to UF grad, man. She's awesome.
It's funny that you bring up the local connections, because I believe for some people, listening to you is as routine as brushing their teeth. In other words, when they wake up in the day, they're gonna brush their teeth, they're gonna get dressed, they're gonna listen to Brett Douglas, they're gonna go to work, and that's like to affect someone like that and affect their day, even though it may seem like it's incidental, it's actually very, very powerful. I think that you deserve a ton of credit for that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, man. That means more than you know. I really appreciate that, because it's we all grew up listening to morning radio, and it's something, like I said, I always wanted to do. Never thinking I ever would have been the morning guy, and or even a part of a team of it. I listen back home and that's actually a great point. I never really thought of it that way, because that was automatic for me. It's like I had my stations that I listened to, which actually were the same format that I'm doing now, and realizing the fun that they had. And that's my biggest thing. I always want to make sure that I always call it the power positive, and I want to make sure that I have that on the show. We don't try to talk about anything negative. We don't make fun of people. We do have stupid news. People make some silly mistakes, and and
We've had a few of those recently.
Yes, we have. Yeah, happy accidents, maybe, if you want to say. But that's the thing. We always want to make sure that we're moving forward, and that if anyone's calling me, I want them to feel comfortable knowing that they're calling a friend. I'm not going to make fun of them. I'm not going to make them feel stupid. You know what I mean? If it is, it's just going to be like getting their go to live. Yeah, I'm not going for shock radio at all. There's destinations.
It takes a lot of courage to call the radio up and be on the air.
And I understand and respect that, exactly. And it's like, and especially nowadays, people don't pick up the phone like they used to.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. I mean, think about it now. When someone calls you, what's your first thought? Is like, can't you text me first?
Oh,
Come
yeah.
on,
Me and
man.
Dad, I'm trying to train him still on text.
I know, intrusive.
If I want to communicate with anybody under 60 years old, I've got to text them. What's up with that? I mean, nobody answers my phone calls.
I do, Jeffrey.
I feel unwanted.
Jeffrey's a caller, for sure.
Jeffrey is.
But I get a pre-planned commitment from Brett on
Yes.
Monday morning.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it is very good. In fact, if anyone's just finding out right now, Jeffrey Meldon is on my show every morning. We go around 8:10 to 8:25. He's on 3 different segments.
Well, when I'm unavailable, Carrie Meldon is call in, and
I'm the pinch hitter, just in case.
Yeah, that's right. And I had
is it
to
a
order
pinch
that.
hitter or doesn't it? Pinch hitter.
A pinch hitter, exactly.
Yeah,
You
okay.
step in when he's down, but you swing for the fence every time, man, and we love it.
So,
Well, thank you, Brad. I appreciate
absolutely.
that.
I really want to tell you that it's been great this past year getting to know you,
Yeah.
being on the show. making somebody in out there listening happy because they've won some tickets, you know.
Exactly.
And
yes.
then we like to take pictures and post them and share them, and everything that you're doing is very, very important. You know, we
Yeah.
have a lot of our staff members listen to you every morning coming to work at Meldon Law, and they tell me all about it. I heard you on the radio this morning. And
This
they're
guy, he's
excited.
awesome. He rocks the mic, man.
So-
You rock it great, man. We
So
appreciate it.
we're going to be wrapping up Meldon Law and Friends, our great friend Brett Douglas from KISS 105 and Jams as well. And we look forward to having you back next
Absolutely.
week
Yeah.
Thank you,
on
Brett.
Meldon Law and Friends.